Today's video is on how to deal with the narcissistic dog lover that lives in your house. This is based on a story from my life. So we're going to use the story of the dog lover is having a meal in your house on your table using your electricity on your property, and the dog comes to the table and they want to give the dog treats. They want to, let the dog beg and all that kind of stuff. And you have a boundary of that's not allowed. And so you tell the dog to go away. But the narcissistic dog owner, they snap. They call you names. You're not a good enough dog owner. You don't have the right to own a dog. We don't deserve dogs. All that kind of crazy dog owner stuff, right? And so you're going to be really incentivized to fix the situation and argue with them and stand your ground or prove your point or whatever. And but you don't want to do that. So I'm going to tell you what to do in this situation that you have to practice, but it'll work eventually. It's like taking your power back from the narcissistic person. And this is also good for that person too, because this behavior is not good for them. So there's two things that they're doing to you. They're using triangulation and they're using reframing, and lots of other ones too, but we're going to focus on those. So first off, it's triangulation. So they're using the dog over here, and then um, you and him are these 2 points, and the dog is the triangle. So he's using that dog against you. Like, you're not good enough for the dog because the dog doesn't like that you're not letting him beg, you're not giving him the right food, blah blah blah. He's using the other person or dog or something else. People do this with their pastor, their teacher, their other kids, and instead of them making a point on their own and meeting you on fair ground, they're using the dog as a metric to judge what a piece of shit you are, a piece of shit dog owner. And then they're going to use their you're going to use that triangulation to put themselves as the hero. I'm here in your house getting everything for free, and I'm here to save your dog from you. This dog that has lived a completely spoiled life, all of a sudden this person is now the hero. So that's the triangulation part of this. And they're using it to make you look bad and to hide all of their insecurities. And then the other part is the framing, which is kind of connected to, but they got this little frame up right here. And inside of that frame is the poor dog, the bad dog owner, that's you, and them as the hero. But that's just a frame. They're totally missing the context. And so that's why you don't want to argue any of the points that narcissist is bringing to the little dog spoiling blow up that happens like that. Don't argue any of that, because it's just bullshit anyways. Like, they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. They're just an insecure little dog loving punk with no fucking gratitude. It's your dog, And so what you got to do is reframe it. You can take what they said at face value. You can say, like, okay, it appears to me that you're very upset with me because I'm not allowing my dog to beg and I'm not giving my dog food. It appears that I've pissed you off by not treating my dog right. And so you can recognize their frame, but then you go and you switch it out. You put in your frame, the proper frame, and you can say, like, that's my dog. My dog respects my boundaries and doesn't come to the table. If you can't respect my dog, then you can't be at my table. You got to add your own frame to this based on, what's real for you and your boundaries, not the bullshit boundaries that they just totally fucking disrespected. And so don't argue any of their points, any of their frame. You set up your frame and you say, well, my dog eats 41 grams of protein per day, maybe. And I don't want him to eat any of that food that I cooked or helped you cook this morning or this afternoon. So So if you can't honor that boundary, don't come to my table. Don't come to my table with that dog. So you got to go back to your boundary and your frame. You got to use your frame, and then debate or basically stand your ground based on your frame and your boundaries, not on the little setup that they did with the triangulation and the frame up. So you might have problems doing this at first, because you might tell them, look, that's my dog, and he has allergies, and that's why I don't give him table scraps. Like, there's a million reasons why you might not want to give your dog table scraps, and you have every right to say no. You have every right to take your dog and put it in a kennel if you want, put it outside if you want during dinner time. And maybe during dinner time, that's a time for communion. Perhaps you're a follower of Christ. Sitting at the table is time to commune with your fellow humans, and having the dog there can interrupt that. So that can be another one of your boundaries: communion and family. And then you can say, look, that's my boundary. If you want to pet the dog outside at the fire pit, you're welcome to. However, right now, my dog understands that I command it to leave the table. And so you can set your boundaries. And it's going to be hard, because then they're going to raise their voice. They're going to use cuss words. They're going to say, well, you this, well, you that. Don't respond to any of that on topic. Just go back and say your boundary again. It's my table. It's my dog. If you want to pet my dog, we have a nice bench outside. But while I'm serving food, this is my sacred place in my kitchen. And once you start doing that with your boundaries, just staying right there and not walking into their frame and their argument, that frame up that they did with you earlier, framing you up as the bad person. Once you reframe it using your boundaries, and it's like, this is my table, this is my kitchen, it's my dog, and that's it. They're gonna try to argue with you, and the first few times that you do this, it's gonna be like fucking pain in the ass. But as they argue with you, they're gonna expose all of their insecurities. They're gonna expose, just how irrational they are. Like, that's not their dog. Thousands of dogs get in hoarding situations every year. If they want to go save dogs, they can go get a job. They can go take in charity money, and they can go out there and save dogs. Your dog not getting some table scraps during one sitting is not the end of the life for that dog. And in fact, the dog is not going to be obese like 60% of American dogs are. And the dog's joints and hair and allergies are going to be in much better shape too. So that's how you set boundaries and reframe that situation. And once you do it a couple times, you're going to be able to wipe the floor with that freaking narcissistic dog lover that's throwing a fit at you because you didn't treat your dog the way that he thinks you need to treat your dog. If he wants to treat dogs a certain way, he can go do that on his own time. But your time is precious. Your communion at your table is precious. And whatever you do to your dog is none of his business. And the only way that would ever be any of his business is if he was to meet you on common ground somewhere outside of the communion of eating and say, hey, excuse me, ma'am, I felt very insecure the other day when I wasn't allowed to feed your dog. Please explain yourself to me. If he was to approach you like that, that would be completely respectable. So even the way that he approaches you when he throws a fit about that dog, first off, his point is absolutely junk. But second off, even if he did have a good point about your dog, he still should not blow up and throw a fit at you. He should allow you to discipline your dog and put your dog in a kennel or whatever else, and then calmly and politely approach you later. So, I mean, you've got him. Just use your boundaries and use your framing. First, you got to recognize the boundaries that he crossed, recognize the framing that he did, recognize the triangulation that he used on you, and then just take that framing, put it into your own, frame it up properly, and then stand your boundaries. And it's going to be good for you and good for him and good for, even going to be good for the dog.